So, welcome to Christa's Spiritual Talks. Today is February 23rd, 2025, and my guest today is Diane Burton. She's an evidential mediumship, and thank you for being willing to be interviewed today.
Thank you, Christa, for this opportunity. I just feel so excited and just want spirit to take us where we go,
Excellent,
and I
excellent.
will follow.
So, for people who don't know you, how would you explain what you do?
Well, I personally didn't know anything about psychic anything or mediumship anything growing up because I grew up uh, Southern Baptist.
Hmm.
So it wasn't until I became an adult and started uh, getting new information from different people that weren't in the church.
Hmm.
I'm going, psychic medium, what is that? And um, some girlfriends and I drove to Oklahoma City, and so I had my first reading, and it was like that is just amazing how they do that. So to answer your question, I feel like words cannot explain the experience of having a mediumship reading, that you have to go yourself and experience it.
Hmm.
It's an experience. It's not, I can't put it in words.
Well, it
And
sounds like you've got to have your own experience with it to understand.
yes,
What age were you when this happened? When you went
I
to
was I was in my 20s.
Okay.
So um the and so unlike so many of my friends, I never had any experiences until I was in my 30s.
Hmm.
And um it's kind of a long story, but on my way to work, which is, 25 miles away, I once a year would take my dog to the vet in the morning, drop her off, and then at the end of my day, I was a school teacher, and at the end of the day, pick her up on the way home. The vet was closed. And when you're teaching school, you can't be late. There's nobody there.
Hmm.
So I thought, what do I do? I'm in a different town. So I thought, I'll take her to my grandmother's. So her name's Bobo. So Bobo was still asleep. And so I just put her in Bobo's backyard.
Hmm.
And after school, I meant to call her, but when there's so many times when you get to work, you're slammed with everything. And I forgot to call her and
Hmm.
tell her, I'll see you in your backyard. So when I went to pick her up, and I picked my kids up from school, my grandmother said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was your dog, and I let her out this morning, out of the gate. So
Oh,
here, my soulmate, that's who she is to me, my soulmate. I still get emotional thinking about her. Um, was out running around in a town she didn't know all day long. So of course my kids and I went up and down the peripheral of Bobo's house, and nobody, nothing, nobody, just she's just gone. I don't know where. And I'm still a Baptist when this happens. Okay, just so you'll know, even though I did have one reading. So the kids got in the car, and I said, we got to go home. Supper, homework, baths, etc., etc., etc. We got to go. The sun is setting, and and so they started crying. I mean, boohooing. So when your kid cries, you cry. So
Right.
I'm boohooing. And from the deepest part of my heart, my soul, I said, God, where is she? And all of a sudden, which I didn't know what it was then, my third eye,
Hmm.
I saw a vision of her in the Masonic Lodge Temple parking lot. I know where this is. So I said, kids, we're going to check one more place on our way out of town. And when we drove there to the parking lot, there she was.
So at the time, did you question it, or are you like, I mean, how was that experience for you?
I I did question it, but when you're desperate,
Yeah,
you don't care where it comes from.
right.
You just do it.
So how long ago was this, or what age
I
was?
was I was in my 30s
Okay.
when this happened. So that was my first experience of, having a vision or something mystical.
Would you categorize that as where your life kind of took off in a different way at that point, or?
No, no. So I was so tied up with being a mother, being a wife, helping be a provider, etc. My life was already full.
Hmm.
It was over full. It's like, can I get all this done? So it wasn't until I was in I think my 50s.
Hmm.
I'm older than I look.
No, you look great. So,
So I was in my 50s, and we had moved to California, and my husband and I had got a screenwriting gig. And so in the evenings, things calm down and you just kind of chill after, writing all day. And I'm just sitting there and watching TV, not doing nothing, just chilling. And all of a sudden I smelled roses. So we're near Palm Springs and it's summer and there's no roses around us where we were.
mhm.
That is so strange. And then I felt, or I I don't really know, maybe it was just a knowing, because right then I know nothing. I An angel food birthday cake, which my grandmother Bobo, that with Aussie, she would make for everybody's birthday. So everybody from scratch got an angel food birthday cake. So um, I said, Dennis, what's today? And he said January 15th. And I said, that date sounds familiar. So I went back to my journals looking things up, and it was my Bobo maternal grandmother's, we call it the crossing over, or her spiritual birthday of crossing over. It
Mhm.
was her, uh, it was her, the day she crossed over many years ago.
Mhm.
It was that day. So therefore, in my mind, I'm going, what is this? What is this? And that was the smelling of roses. And then I read farther down, January 15th, but in a different year, was my paternal grandfather's birthday, all on the same day, but different years. And therefore, the angel food birthday cake.
Oh,
And
wow.
I went, oh my God, what? Whoa, whoa, what was that? What happened? And then it was until years later, it was still um, in my, let's see, maybe in my early 60s, 60, something like that.
Mhm.
I was about to retire from teaching, so I had extra time. And um, I decided I'm going to start taking classes
Oh, okay.
and find out what the heck were those two things that happened to me years earlier.
Where did you take classes from?
With whom?
Or yeah, what type of classes or
Well, mediumship classes. Yeah, Cheryl Murphy was one of my first teachers. She lived near me in LA, and I met her at a Thomas John uh, weekend class, and
Mhm.
I really connected with Cheryl Murphy there. So that was kind of like my beginning, and uh, now I'm still studying for years now with Andy Bing from the
Oh, okay. So you're doing that with Andy too.
yeah.
Okay. I have a friend who uses him as a mentor also. So that's quite a journey. I've seen your website, so I know you offer quite a few things, mediumship on a psychic level, spiritual coaching, and self-development. So from your early 60s to now, that's quite a jump, and it takes a lot of confidence and effort. Um, how would you describe that journey?
Well, the word confidence is my weakness, dealing with the throat chakra, speaking up with confidence. And so, whatever your weakness is, that's what we need to work on.
Hmm.
So, that's was a driving force to help build a foundation so I could have confidence.
Hmm.
So that's what I've been working on, my foundation for confidence.
Right.
And
So
what was the other part of the question? I don't
well,
remember.
it's just I know how much work goes into not only the website, but defining what you do, because everybody's a little bit different with their gifts, right? So when people come to you, is there kind of an area that you specialize in that you're better at, or is there a common denominator, or all they all come to you with totally different reasons for being making appointments with you?
Yeah. Different reasons, but I think my gift, and it's my favorite thing, is to do self-development.
Hmm.
Um, um, this is a side note, but it'll be attached later.
Okay.
The side note is over 30 years, long time. I
Mhm.
have been taking improvisation classes.
Oh, okay.
And with Gary Austin, the late, great Gary Austin, he was the founder of the Groundlings on Melrose there in LA,
Mhm.
where many stand-ups, have come through the Groundlings. He was the founder. So he was my first improv teacher back, 30 something years ago in Nashville. I used to live in Nashville. He would fly in, etc. And then when we moved to LA, then I could take him there because we were all there. But doing improv brought up fears.
I was going to say it takes guts. Look at you.
Guts. I just did it with the fear.
Mhm.
And then over the years of doing improv, and now that Gary has crossed over to the other side, my new mentor in improv is Scotty Watson from New York, and he is totally amazing. But the fears and the structure of improv, you think improv doesn't have structure, but it is. It does have structure.
Mhm.
And when I started taking, especially with Andy Bing, he has a structure. in a sense. And I saw them overlapping the improv and mediumship. And I was going, oh my gosh, we the improv is a great way for mediums to bring up fears, to work on them while we're having fun. So
Right.
I have started, and I haven't put it on my website yet, because I use improv in therapy if the person who comes to me wants to approach that way. But I give a class, improv for mediums only. And I'll put it up on my website in the next month. But we do it every Monday on Zoom. Let's see, it's 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So, anyway, fears come up. And then after we're through doing the exercise, then we talk about the fears, how they relate to mediumship. And it's totally amazing.
This is fascinating. Personally, I'm always looking for ways to raise my vibration and get out of my own way so I can be more self-actualized or express myself more as Christa, right? So that I've never even thought about it that way. That's beautiful. And it really gets to it quickly too.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing you correctly, you're always challenging yourself to move past your fears. Is it kind of the same thing so you can be more of who you truly are, or how would you describe it in your words?
Exactly. It's like you said, Krista, it's a peeling away of the ego,
Hmm.
because in improv you take off your mask
Right.
and then you question, well, is there a mask under the mask? How many layers are
Right.
there to get to the true center? Because in improvisation, one of the overlapping things that are so important for spiritual development, your spiritual growth, um, is I just lost it. Hold on, because there's 10 things that overlap. Um, oh, improv is being in the now.
I love it.
The now. I mean, right now. You and me, Krista,
Because it
right
takes
now.
everything, it takes all your focus. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
And in mediumship, it's you being in the present moment, not with your thoughts about your conversation or whatever with someone before this happened, or you're worried about, well, what am I going to do at 2 p.m.? No, mediumship is focused in the now. Improvisation is focused in the now because you don't know what the other person's going to say. You have to listen. You have to be there. You have to be in tune with the other person because you are going to respond
Right.
and you don't know what it's going to be. Just like when spirit comes in, you don't know what they're going to say.
No, no. It's making yourself vulnerable and being okay with that. I love it. Wow.
Yeah.
I
And
love
it
how
was just like
creative.
these two loves of my life,
Hmm.
was they overlapped. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great opportunity to work on both things at once.
It's mindfulness,
Yes.
the end of the category of mindfulness, really
Yes.
training the brain. Yeah, I love it.
Yes. And you have fun. And you're talking about earlier about raising your vibration.
Right.
Laughter. Laughter. It raises your vibration. And oh my gosh, I mean, sometimes we're in tears when we're doing the improv because it's just so funny, crazy, out of the blue. Whatever comes in, you say it. Just like in mediumship. You don't get to put up a screen and uh, cipher out what you want to say, no. When it comes in, you say it. And it's the same as improv. When you get that whoosh, you just say it.
You must get people that are highly motivated because a lot of people would be intimidated or afraid to, or what type of people do you generally get? So,
But that's true. Highly motivated people, because I do have a friend that hasn't come to the improv group yet, because she said it's intimidating. I'm not ready,
right,
but then she knows that's a fear that
right,
she needs to work on. And this is the improv class is a safe place.
right. A safe place to express that it's okay.
Yeah. And that allows your vulnerability to be there.
So obviously you're highly motivated and pushed this way. What is your hope for people at the end of the day from going through this?
Through the improv class,
Mhm.
um, one of the one of the things that I tell myself is no expectations. I don't have a goal, no expectations. And that place gives space for vulnerability on both sides, no goals, no expectations, spirit's in charge,
Mhm.
and we're just of service to spirit for learning purposes. That's all.
You've obviously done a lot of work on yourself because then you're not disappointed and that's the ego, right? So you're more
Right.
in flow. And when you're in the flow, you don't put that burden on your back. Um, you must have a lot more joy in your life.
I
I,
do.
yeah.
I do. I do. And anytime, you know, I love Dr. David Hawkins. Have you seen his levels of consciousness with the
Ultimate,
different frequencies?
ultimate consciousness scale.
Yes, Dr. David Hawkins,
I
and there
use
might
it
be
in,
others that have one,
yeah,
but
yes,
his
I,
his and anytime I start getting in those lower vibrations, frequencies, whatever word you want to use, of the ego,
hmm
then I know, up, stop, go within, feel it, and do whatever I need to do to accept, blend, heal, whatever. So I do that every day.
hmm
So, like you said earlier, the mindfulness, the awareness that uh, uh, is, if you choose, a part of every moment in our life. And um, yes, yes. But I also want to, I don't do tarot. I mean, I have some stacks, but I have to look at the book. I don't do tarot. But I love tarot. I have like 20 decks. But anyway, when can I ask you a question?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, good, good, good. So when you were doing a tarot reading, because I did watch your interview, and you've been doing it 20 plus years or 30, long time tarot.
Mainly for my own personal growth. I just started doing it professionally 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So the when you're doing a tarot reading, the connection you make with your client is also on a soul to soul level.
hmm
So I want to know, when those lower vibrations, such as jealousy, someone comes to you and their boyfriend, whatever. There's a jealousy because there's another woman. How do you handle the aspect of, I guess, healing? Because they come to you for answers and for healing.
I would say that's my strong point. My background is in addiction counseling, so half of my tarot is counseling, so I can hear in the verbiage too, and then the cards always show it. You know how there's no way it's not random, you know. So that's just kind of giving me a cue. And we all have turning points. Number five would be a turning point. And
Oh,
that's usually that energy that propels us forward. And so my hope in tarot is that people don't get stuck there because people can get stuck in that turning point for years, right? So I can help facilitate so they don't have to stay there that much longer because we do all have those lower vibrational energies, right?
hmm
And then I give them inspiration of how to move through it, in a positive light, not a negative, because it's not negative when you go through it because we all have what we call our shadow side, the Jungian, you know. The moon comes up as the moon sometimes in tarot, but and that's my hope because it's more just a platform for helping people. It's hard to get to that depths with people, but with tarot, generally people are open and ready to hear something. Um, so I guess I just present it in a positive, like, yeah, there is a challenge here, but you have an opportunity, you know. So I don't candy coat. I'm more of a realist of what's going on. I'm not going to say the love of your life, all that kind of, because I don't know. It's more just kind of showing where their energies are right now and opportunities because we all have choices
hmm
like I'm working on right now. If I have a repetitive negative self-doubt or something like that, I'm just to the point where I'm recognizing I have it, and then I'll consciously raise my vibration because I know I'm creating my world, and I'm the one I need to get out of my own way, right? So even doing these interviews, I could say, "Oh, who am I to do it?" Or I'm like, "No, this is a great expression." It feels really good in my heart to be able to express myself and have other people like-minded lights me up. I just learned so much about mindfulness. I love that. That's what turns me on. So,
Well, when I did watch, let's see, when you interviewed Craig, I watched that. I think that's when it was, but you quoted a Native American quote or an indigenous quote. I can't remember what it was, but when I was watching you say that quote, there was so much energy that came out of you from that quote, and then all of a sudden I had a flash of you. I mean, I'm going off on a different tangent
it's
here.
all good. It's all good.
Okay, of you being a medicine woman in front of a campfire.
Hmm.
And I was like, here she is, an indigenous medicine was woman sitting with her people at this tribe. And then later in the interview, you did mention that you do work with indigenous.
Mhm.
And that was kind of like, wow.
Thank you.
When something later comes to confirm a flash of what you saw, what I saw. And anyway, I was so excited.
Well, that's a lot of my draw too, is going back to nature. A lot of the indigenous elder teachings are so basic, and we've gotten so far away from them. Uh,
Mhm.
that's a lot of teachings that I do in the tribe is, and it's not me, it's just from a book. Like I said, we're brought up in a society to think that we're the center of the universe, but really we're part of the flow, and that's what you were talking about earlier. And so much easier in life when you get there. And of course I vacillate myself, right? And it just feels so much better when you're in that flow of creation.
Hmm.
Um, well, thank you for tapping into my passions there. That's kind of fun.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
was.
part of the reason for doing this because it's so basic, a lot of it, that we've just gotten away from the simple way of living, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I, I've had a psychic, Cheryl, Cheryl Murphy.
mhm.
She did a practice reading with me. Um, well, I was the practice person, but she did a reading for me. But she said, in the future, you're going to be helping with indigenous people. And so I'm like, and when I heard you say that, Christa, that you're already doing it, I was like, oh, what am I going to be doing? And
Oh, this is funny because I had a thought when you were describing your class you do on Mondays. I've been tasked with putting together a curriculum for mindfulness to do at the tribe. And I had a flash of you being on the Zoom. So we'll see what happens. Because I think the more you bring in of different, I like to give options so people can kind of pick what works for them. So rather than, because we do outpatient treatment for drugs and alcohol, empowering the person, right? Hey, I'm more drawn towards this or this or this, rather than you have to jump through all these hoops. That's
right.
one of my hopes too. So
Wow.
yeah, that's interesting.
It's because I've just been sitting here because that was over half a year or a year ago. So
Mhm.
I've just been waiting for spirit going, I'm here.
Well, I can tell you're passionate about what you do and you put a lot of thought into it. And I think one of the main things is you've done a lot of work yourself because
Yes,
if
I
you're going to
have.
pick a teacher, you're going to get the teachings from the vibration they're at. And I can tell I'm already impressed with the internal work that you've done. So you do have a lot to share. That is impressive. So,
Thank you. Thank you. I've done the work. I'm on my third husband, so I've really done a lot of work.
oh, that's funny. Um, so if somebody wants to get a hold of you, would they do it through your website or
Yes.
I can put it in the link below, but I'm just going to say it. Is it Madre Medium? Is that how you say it? Okay.
Yes.
So Madre and then Mediem.
IUM.
IUM, thank you, at
Yes.
earthlink.net. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Anything that I haven't shared that you want to talk about or
Well, I want to talk about you.
oh, well, we did a little bit.
I
Uh,
know, but um because
well,
I'm not an interviewer, so I'm not good
it
at
doesn't matter. We're just friends talking, so
okay, but I just feel like um I want to talk about you more. I guess I'll just ask about is there something you would like to share with the world about you having the courage to do this because that's a huge process.
I would say this is my challenge is expressing myself. I've always kind of kept myself hidden as far as my spiritual side. Um, and there was fears around it, and I think different reasons for having those fears, not just one. So this is I've asked recently in the morning I kind of stretch and then I'll do I'd say it's a prayer. I don't have any religious background, but I'll kind of just connect up with spirit. And I've asked to be more self-actualized or more of who Krista is or that expression. And this just kind of dropped in my lap. And I could, you know how you can feel where it's in alignment? I don't know where it's going, but I just know it's where I'm supposed to be. It's kind of like what you're talking about, being in the now moment. And So that does light me up. Um, and it's nice to be able to start expressing myself. I've had so many different experiences. I'm not somebody who taps in like you do automatically. I mean, I can connect up, but more I'll have, I guess I'd have to categorize it as a soul-led life. I'll get, I'll just know I need to move.
Hmm.
Like I ended up selling my house in 2016 from North Bend, Washington, moving to the Big Island, Hawaii. Uh,
Oh, you're in the Big Island?
and
Oh,
I have friends
cool.
that are psychics, and I've had many lifetimes there. And I don't know if that was about healing. I'm not even sure why, but I was drawn there. And then obviously I've been working in Native American communities. I think the draw there is going back to those very simple universal laws of we are all connected and being a good person. I'm just the basics, you know, it's so simple, but we've certainly got a lot into the ego, right? Corruption, greed, and I'm just talking generally, right? So my soul has a desire to kind of express that, I guess. Maybe that's not that articulate, and I'm still trying to understand my journey because I've had things that are unexplainable. Time jumps, lost time, jump dimensions. It sounds crazy. Uh,
No, I believe in all
I've
that.
I've
Can you
written
share
down like
one
yeah.
story with us about one of those things? If you choose to, I would love to hear that story.
Okay. Well, I guess this was probably around 2017, maybe 18. A friend of mine who is a psychic, amazing psychic, who can actually read minds,
Oh,
came with me, and we decided, I don't know if you're familiar with Green Sands Beach on the Big Island.
mm-mm. I
It's
haven't been yet to Hawaii.
well, basically, you stop at a road and it's about 30, takes 30 minutes to go in, and it's just really whatever. And of course, the rental car company is like, don't take it to Green Sand Beach. So what do? And I was able to do it, right? So we get there and I don't know, we spend a little bit of time there and decide to take off, you know, and we had a car in front of us and a car behind us. And I'm driving and my friend's in the passenger car, and all of a sudden we're at the end. And we look up and there's this bird. It's really windy that day, right? And the bird was doing something that it couldn't do in that wind. It was going like this. And so we wake up, we point at it, and we look at each other and we start cracking up because a bird can't do that. And then we look at each other and we both go, what the heck? How did we get here? And so we were confused at that point. And then we found out later because he got the message. The bird was because we were looking for spiritual things on the Big Island, and what Spirit was telling us, you can flap your wings and go wherever, but it doesn't work like that. It's from the inside. We were trying to find it on the outside, so they were kind of laughing with us.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're like, "Where did we go?" And they go, "You didn't go anywhere. We came to you." And I don't know who that is. I don't know, but that whole area is a very special place magnetically. So I think it is kind of I've read about it in books, a tear in the fabric.
Oh, yeah.
Um, that was
And,
just one of my trippy experiences.
and what is that place called?
It's called Green Sand Beach. It's on the Big Island.
Green Sand Beach.
It's really green. It's kind of an army green, but it is actually, I don't know what gem it is, but it's actually green. Yeah.
That sounds so beautiful. What a
Don't you think when you have these experiences, there's nothing more interesting? I mean, I think it's fascinating. You know, I love learning more about it. So, yeah.
yeah. I love the mystical, the unexplainable, and then you get a download of what it is.
Yeah.
That's that's so beautiful.
Well, thank you. I think when you're in what I call the matrix, it looks like, why is she doing that? That's not a good financial decision or whatever. So it's got to have been a little hard on family or some friends, like, what is she doing now? But you just know that feeling. You have to follow it. It's just like, that's why I'm here. I just knew that it was more important to grow as a person than gain wealth so I've definitely just followed spirit, what I get my little calling to do. So, and
Yeah,
I've always been taken care of. So,
yeah. Earlier you were talking about, the indigenous wisdom is so simple,
hmm
but it is the deepest place you can go.
hmm
It's simple, but it is so it's so deep.
Well,
So
just like you were talking about with mindfulness and what you teach on Mondays, in indigenous cultures, and now they're all very different, but most of the cultures would teach children to be very mindful. If you're making something, have positive thoughts because they knew how powerful thoughts are. They're things, they're energies that go out and they can actually go into somebody else, right? And they're like, why am I having a negative thought? So there's all these basic teachings that were taught. And of course, we know what the US government did and how distorted it is now. But bringing back that balance of how to live, because we know we create our own reality, right? So going back into harmonizing internally, which creates harmonizing externally, getting back to that, right? Because it can just be a beautiful place if everybody does their internal work, you know, creating that. So,
and I when you mentioned rich, because there are, I know some rich people and they're not happy. And finding that richness of being in alignment that you're talking about.
and you can have abundance and have the internal too.
Oh,
There's nothing wrong with it. And I didn't think you were saying that,
yeah,
but
I wouldn't, but I'm just
yeah,
saying it
yeah.
doesn't bring happiness to
No,
everybody.
I'm glad I've had both experiences. I've had the big house, the marriage, and I did feel empty inside, right? But that was just part of my journey. But I did have that. So I know it's not a sure, I want to be comfortable, and I am very comfortable, and I'm very grateful for the abundance I have. You know, I'm paid well for what I do, and I get to do this on the side, and uh,
Mhm.
I'm getting to an age too where, maybe I can do this in retirement and see where it takes me. So, yeah.
Absolutely, because I'm doing this in retirement,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's so fulfilling. And um, I studied, Carolyn Mace and her sacred contracts
hmm
uh, about um, writing a blueprint with our guides before we come.
hmm
And I love that thought because it released for me, not not having the victim archetype,
hmm
that I wrote this so my soul could learn.
Don't you think I think as a collective, the feminine is really taking her power back. Yeah. I see
A-
that. Yeah.
Absolutely, uh, the goddess versus the alphabet. Have you read that book?
No. Uh-uh.
It's about the feminine power coming back, swinging from the masculine or patriarch, swinging back into the feminine empowerment.
Which balance out the masculine, which we have both inside. And yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's part of bringing that harmony back that I was talking about. The simple things is being in balance with the masculine and feminine. So that's very
Yeah,
much great.
that's the key and love to everything
Yeah.
is the balance.
Yep. And that's a lot of my teaching. So I have a feeling we will be working in the future. So this will
Yay!
Yay. See, I knew I was meant to do these for, you just never know until you start walking down the path, right? Well, I want to go ahead and wrap it up a little bit. Any other thoughts? We can talk afterwards, but any other thoughts you want to?
I think we've said everything that we need to right now. And I love being in your vibration, in your resonance. I feel it. I feel the love.
Hmm.
So, Krista, thank you for this opportunity because it in this day and age, it's still rare.
It is, and that's why I'm on Zoom. I'm in a small town out in the country in the mountains out in Washington State, and this is a way for me to connect up that fills me up too. So thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording and then we can talk. So.